So this is the spoiler talk. Balls deep.
We're not that drunk yet.
No.
So this is spoiler talk for The Revenant. I really don't know what to pick. What scene was the most brutal in this movie? I think the bear attack scene I thought was going to be the most brutal, but that fight scene between Leo and Tom at the end was, and it's not even that it's not like over the top. It's not that there's like a lot of blood.
No, and it wasn't.
It's not like there's like shit going everywhere.
They're not fighting. They're not throwing punches and blocking. And
It doesn't look
jumping off of rocks. No, it didn't look.
It doesn't look choreographed at all. It literally looks like two tired, beaten up men just giving every last ounce of energy
what it looked like.
They have into just trying to destroy the other person.
Leo comes at him with the hatchet and fucking, or the tomahawk, and he fucking like gets tackled, and then it's just like they're already so tired. They've been running down and up and through this mountain. They're fucking exhausted.
You gotta have that build up of like them just kind of like slogging,
like walking along this like this half empty riverbed, and Tom Hardy's just like blah 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 blah. And Leo is just like, you killed my son. That's the whole point of the whole fucking movie, is that he's coming for revenge for Tom Hardy killing his son. But it's just like, holy shit, he's been chasing him, and he's gone to these extreme lengths to get Tom Hardy, to get Fitzgerald, to get Fitzgerald, and finally he has him. Fitzgerald is wounded, of course. So is fucking
he's gotten beaten up a little.
God, what was his name?
Glass.
Hugh Glass. Glass was wounded. He mauled by a goddamn bear. His fucking foot was broken. There were some scenes. Holy shit! When he crawls out of his grave that Tom Hardy throws him in, his foot literally his foot just goes flop. And everybody's like, everybody in the theater is just like, oh, everybody, like his foot just goes, ham. I mean, holy shit. I mean, there was one scene where where when they were saving him, like about to stitch him up from the bear attack, where the captain tells the kid, he's like, all right, we're holding him down, pull his foot, reset the bone, and you hear and he passes out. So painful. I mean, I've never had a broken bone. No. I mean, I've broken like fingers and toes and shit like that. That hurts bad enough, but nothing like that. I've never had a broken leg, and to have a doctor, modern doctor, reset your leg is bad enough, because they're gonna put anesthesia in there, and you're still gonna feel that. It's still gonna fucking hurt, but nowhere near this. This is fucking wilderness, wild frontier shit. And he's bleeding out from his back, his neck, his shoulder, bleeding out. And he's got a broken leg. Incredible. Like, the acting in this fucking movie was so over the top.
Yeah, with Leo, it's
good way over the top.
Oh yeah, with Leo, it's not like the delivery of the dialogue. It's the delivery of the
humanity.
The humanity, just the raw will to survive is really what this performance is. I mean, like you see him like buried alive, and he's got the dirt in his mouth.
His teeth are covered in rocks and grit and shit, and he's foaming at the mouth.
He's just got spit.
He's just spitting like but it's not like you don't, while you're watching the movie, like I've seen movies, where people are like, oh, that's so fucking stupid. I would never do that. No. He was damn near killed by a fucking bear, literally ripped to shreds, broken arm, broken leg.
Oh, Jesus. And when his son's getting killed and he's like tied down.
Oh, holy shit. What would you do? You would be trying to get, like, your body, your whole body is physically broken. and all
And you're tied.
and you're tied down, and your throat is slashed. Like the bear cuts his throat, not open all the way. His larynx and his jugular didn't get severed, but he has a huge cut across his neck, causing it to hurt painfully every time he tries to talk. So he can't talk, and his son is being stabbed to death and then dragged off. And he's just, he can't talk, he can't scream, he can't do anything. So he's fucking spit and everything, and it's just so gritty
and
and just so human.
That reminds me too. Again, kind of getting back to the cinematography. I love that they did not shy away from like the breath hitting the lens of the camera.
Holy shit, that was beautiful.
Like fogging it up.
Oh
like
my God.
The spit like hitting it. I loved that rawness of it. That like, it wasn't like, oh no, you can't do that. It was like Alejandro was like, get the fucking camera right into his face.
Brilliant.
And just get it all.
You have the camera literally in the guy's face, and it is so cold. Every little pant that he has is fogging up the camera lens, and he's just and it just gets foggier and foggier, and he kind of takes a shallow breath, and it kind of fades a little bit, and he takes a deep breath, and it fogs up again, and then it cuts to
and the scene transition into those clouds.
Into the clouds. Yeah, it was brilliant. Everything. I mean, I gotta say, like, my favorite thing, like, aside from the awesome scenes, him surviving, just the fact that what he did to survive was incredible. I mean, eating the fish raw. I mean, the fact that he was just like, here's the fish, and he goes into it. The girls sitting next to us were like, it's so gross, I could never do that. I'm like, yeah, you try starving for weeks on end and eating nothing but grass and
sleeping
roots.
In a fucking horse carcass.
Oh, God, holy shit. Now, I gotta say, I laughed at that because in my mind, I'm a retard and I go all over. Sorry. I'm a little mentally challenged at times. I go all over the place. My brain is just like, and I was laughing because
You went to Empire Strikes Back, didn't you?
I went to Empire Strikes Back, and I thought they smelled bad on the outside. And then, I'm sorry, like, the girl sitting next to me, she's a friend, and she started laughing, and she leans over, and she goes, Ace Ventura Pet Detective 2.
When nature calls.
When he's like breaching the rhino's butt.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. So, I mean, I get the humor in that, and I was kind of laughing at the whole thing, but still, you have to switch back and go, holy shit. The lengths that this guy went. I mean, Man versus Wild, what? This guy. Holy shit. I mean, he doesn't drink his own piss. He fucking pulls out everything inside of a horse's carcass that just died and spends the night in freezing temperatures inside a horse. Not a tom-tom, a horse. Everything about this movie.
Just raw. I think that's really the best way to describe this movie. I mean, even from like how they filmed it. I mean, it was like
I could only dream of having the visual prowess and abilities that these guys, directors, editors, DPs, actors alone. I'm speechless.
Music.
Oh.
Not your typical film score.
No.
At all.
It wasn't the fact that there was music. It was the fact that they chose not to do as much music.
Which, there are so many movies where I could pick scenes where I was like, this scene would have been so much more intense
had they
with
had
no music.
And
if you just let the sound do the work, like, this scene would have just...
And that's what they did with The Revenant.
Yes. No sweeping melodies, just ambiance, just mood,
Again, with the natural lighting of everything, it was all natural lighting. It was firelight, or moonlight, or daylight. They didn't have lamps. They didn't have lights in there. So this is all natural lighting. Everything is natural lighting. And you have scenes where there is no music, no orchestra, no trumpets, no nothing, no drums. All you hear is the crackle of the fire, him breathing, the wind in the trees. And they have that perfectly. So much so that you actually at times feel like you're sitting there with him. And you are in the moment. I mean, this is exactly, to me, this is exactly what movies are meant to do and meant to be.
Yes.
So much so that they draw you in and they make you feel like you're there. That's what I loved about it. I took a moment at one scene where they did a sweeping landscape view. Clouds were passing across the landscape. You had the mountains and you had the moon, and it was a beautiful, beautiful set. I looked down. Nobody said anything. Nobody leaned over and whispered. Nobody checked their fucking Facebook. Nobody pulled out their phones. It was dead silent. And there was no music. All it was the wind blowing, trees creaking. That's it.
Yes.
And everybody. My most memorable scene, two. One is when he is befriended by the Native American and they travel together. And DiCaprio's character, Glass, passes out off the horse, and this Native American that he's traveling with, we don't know his name, know nothing about him other than he's got, a good sense of humor. He's kind of a quirky character. Builds a shelter. And I think he decides he's been trying to help him. He's built a shelter and he's been trying to help him for a couple of days. And he takes off. He's like, all right, I've done all I can do for this guy. I've helped him out. I've taken him as far as I can. He's on his own. I've mended his wounds as best that I can. And when he comes to and he leaves the shelter and he gets all of his stuff on, he starts walking. He comes to a tree and there's the guy hanging. And it is so just heartbreaking. And it is something that happened. I mean, these are events based on true stories. There are certain things that actually did happen. This was the kind of shit that actually fucking happened. And this scene was so intense to me because it was just the realism of it. I mean, it was done by the French, and so there was a sign hanging from his head. He was hanging from a tree, and a sign hanging from him, and it was all written in French. And
we don't know what it said.
It was something about savages. I caught that much. It was something about savages. And it was just so heartbreaking because here's this man who was so charismatic and so caring for this random stranger, and he was butchered and brutalized by modern people. Civilized people.
Bringing civilization.
Bringing civilization to these savages.
I think that was a great thing too. It was like the Native Americans, they were definitely kind of like, you saw the fights, but then it would always go to the Native Americans and you would see their side of it, which was mainly this dude just trying to find his daughter.
Yeah.
Like that's really what the motivation was.
There was a side story. There was a fucking side story to the whole goddamn movie. There was this guy's character who was chasing down his son's killer, and then there was a fucking side story that it was just like, who is this guy? Why does he keep showing up? And then you meet the French people, and you're like, oh. And segue into my second scene. I am a very big advocate for female leads. Not that I am, equal opportunist or, believe in equal rights. I do. But it's not so much that. It's just that I want to see women get what's due to them. You have this woman who has been captured by the French and has been raped every day. And finally, DiCaprio's character catches up, not because he's looking for them, just happens to run into them.
And just wants to get the horse and get the hell out of there.
Just get the fuck out of there. And the French guy is raping this girl who it just happens to be the daughter of the chief of this.
And he doesn't know that.
He has no idea what's going on. He doesn't know the connection of anything.
He just sees a girl getting raped and he's like, oh,
and
fuck
he's
this
like,
shit.
fuck this shit. And so he puts a gun. He pulls the gun off the guy and puts it to his head and he says, "You scream, I will kill you." And he tells the girl to take the knife off his belt. And so the girl takes the knife and she puts the knife to his neck and says, "I will take your balls."
And sure enough,
sure as shit, the next scene you see her in, she's running off into the distance, and the guy is clutching himself, and blood everywhere on his legs. He had his nuts taken.
Good for you, girl.
Good for you, girl. Those are my two favorite scenes.
Absolutely.
I mean, aside from all the other epic shit that happens, those are my two favorite. Mm-hmm. So, B, what are your two favorite scenes?
Oh, Jesus. My two favorite scenes, it's got to be, number one, that fight scene at the end.
Holy crap.
Just because, like we talked about earlier, it doesn't look choreographed. Mm-mm. It doesn't look... It literally looks like two guys, tired and worn down, just beating the shit out of each other. And I loved that. I thought that was just absolutely...
It was real.
Yeah, it looks so just real and raw that I was just so happy. I was like, please, other movies, look at this.
Yeah, I mean, how many people out there? Show of hands. How many people out there have ever had a Avengers style fight scene? No, but you fucking put your hand down because you know you fucking haven't. You are not fucking Scarlett Johansson. You do not jump on that dude's head, wrap your shit around his neck.
And if you are, you should call me.
Me. I'm single. He's not.
Just the sheer... I loved kind of the art house stuff they threw in that didn't really have an explanation. I mean, when he like walks up to that mountain of like bull skulls.
Yeah.
Like stuff like that, because it's like everything always needs an explanation in movies.
And there was no explanation.
It doesn't. It's like they're just like they're symbolic visions that like you just have to. You have to see. That. There was either have to understand it or you just have to go with it. You just have to go. Oh, okay. There's just this.
That's me. I just went with it because I had no idea what that was.
You don't have to know, but you just have to accept it. You just have to be like, okay.
I was fine with it because it was beautiful. Cinematically, it was beautiful.
Stuff like that that's off the mainstream, off the beaten path of film, of mainstream movies of this caliber that we're used to seeing.
Yeah. Well,
epic.
I think we've beaten this dead horse.
I think we've gone as balls deep as we can.
I think we've gotten as deep into this as we can. So... obviously, we both highly recommend this movie. Again, this is not a movie to take lightly. This is a very intense...
prepare yourself.
Yeah, very intense film. So, have fun with this film. This is not something that is going to be on Netflix next week. And,
no.
If ever, this is not something that you're going to lightly take.
Nope.
So, take advantage of it while
experience it.
Take advantage of it while it's in theaters, in the big screen, with the IMAX, or not with the IMAX, but with the surround sound.
Yep.
And enjoy it.
And just experience it.
There aren't explosions and epic things that happen. It's the subtleties that you need to take advantage of. The nuances of everything that happens. The fact that when they're walking through the snow, you can hear clearly the crunch. And it's not just like somebody walking on eggshell crunch in the snow. It's real. These are actors in snow. It's not fake snow. It's not on a stage. They are in the mountains. People got sick. People got colds. People got pneumonia. This is real acting. This is what acting is supposed to be. Take advantage of this.
Do it. Enjoy it.
Go see this movie. Go see this movie.
Go see this movie.
So, again, my name is Peter.
I'm Brian.
This is Balls Deep. Cheers.